Got wine? We're going to give you some top tips on tasting. That's right, from an expert, the one who teaches the folks behind the counter at the tasting rooms how to treat you. Give you some advice on how you treat them and how you treat the wine. That's coming up on Kron this weekend. Hey, welcome back. We are blessed by being surrounded by wineries, north, south, east. Well, there are no wineries to the west of us, but at least not immediately to the west, except the underwater ones. So there are these tasting rooms, and most of us have done tasting room tours at one point or another. But there are secrets, ways of getting the most out of touring the tasting rooms. And we have with us someone who actually trains the tasting room personnel. Pamela Personette is she is, in fact, Illumination Hospitality, and she teaches folks in the wine business how to take care of those of us who aren't in the wine business. So just for starters, what are you telling those folks that I really don't know and should know when I go into a wine tasting room?
Well, I'm telling them that it's so important to make that initial contact, that eye contact, body language, wave the people in as they come into the tasting room.
Oh, but I'm scared.
Because they are scared, they're intimidated. And a lot of people I've been hearing say, I feel like I need to impress the person behind the counter. And that's not the case at all. The person behind the counter, as I teach them, have a conversation. It's all about making a connection and asking questions and really listening to the customer so you can customize the experience for each person, because each person is expecting something different.
Right. It is, I mean, anybody who's stood at at the bar at a tasting room has heard some really absurd conversations, people trying to impress the staff. I have probably had some myself. But it's okay. I mean, you sort of have to swallow your pride and say, well, I know a little about wine, but just take me through the process.
Right. It's okay to say, you know, this is the first time I've ever stepped foot in a tasting room, or I don't go tasting very much. The vocabulary scares me. I've been to 2 other wineries. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. Please tell me, what does this term mean? And then they'll be happy to explain it in very simple terms if that's what you want. Or if you want a more detailed explanation, they're happy to do that too. So whatever you want.
Okay, so you walk into a tasting room and you can either get by the glass or you can do flights. What do you recommend for folks?
Well, I recommend, a lot of times there are kind of the basic tasting, then maybe a reserve tasting. Start with the basics, and then if you enjoy that, you can work your way up and try the reserve wines as well.
And what if you don't, I mean, what if you don't like a wine? It's very hard sometimes to, you know, look at the person and say, no. Especially because the person will then say, well, what is there about it you don't like? And then you have to, oh, well, it's that little chalky element in the finish that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yes, you don't have to explain why you don't like it. In fact, the person behind the counter is used to people pouring out the wine, because a lot of times they're pacing themselves. They're not going to finish every taste. And so you politely pour it out. And if they do ask you if you liked it, just say, you know, that wasn't one of my favorites. It wasn't one that I really prefer, but I like the one before that. And, you know, don't judge the wine. Don't tell them, oh,
that stinks. Wow.
That's terrible. No,
Sulfur.
Just tell them, that one really wasn't for me.
So, you know, this is the old spit or swallow question in a tasting room. What do you do?
Well,
I don't
recommend spitting, only because it takes a lot of practice to be proficient at that.
A good spitter?
Yes.
Really?
And so
what if you do it wrong?
I think it's easier to pour politely and just take a small sip. That way you're good.
Well, yeah, but if you really like it and you want to taste a lot of it, but you don't want to, you know, you might need to drive.
Well, if you perfect your skills and do it, you know, that's fine.
What can go wrong in the spitting process?
Well, you never know. You miss. You might get a little
All right,
spatter.
never mind.
You know,
sorry, we need
that's a whole other
too much discussion on that. So tasting rooms can run into some money just for the tasting. But there are some free ones out there as well.
There are a few free ones still around. Klein Cellars, I believe, is free
in Sonoma.
In Sonoma. And a lot of times when you do a tasting and they charge you, they will reimburse you if you buy a bottle of wine. So that's a way to defer that cost.
Now, these days, tasting rooms are like just one tiny component of these wineries. The fact of the matter is you can do plenty of tasting and still bring the family along, the kids as well.
Exactly.
And they can enjoy it. So there are places, you can look for places like that.
Right.
Yes.
Do your homework, go on the internet and find places that specialize or welcome children. One great one is Larson Family Winery in Sonoma. They have farm animals. They have Dalai Lama there. They've got horseback rides,
llama.
bocce, horseshoes.
That's Larson with an E, is it? Or
with an O.
With an O. Thank you,
Yes.
Larson. And by the way, do you have to buy a bottle? I mean, I always feel embarrassed if I don't buy a bottle at least a bottle on the way out.
Well, the idea is that you're presented with these great wines, and if the server is doing his job, he's going to make a match and listen to you and hear and say, wow, you entertain a lot. This is a wine that you would most likely like, and you'll be happy to buy a bottle. But don't ever feel...
That's what you're teaching them.
Yes, don't ever feel obligated. But if you're making a connection with your server and having a good time, I pretty much guarantee that you're going to buy a wine because you don't want to miss out.
Right. So if you would like to become a hospitality or a seller, the people behind the counter, by the way, you know, they're not just wine groupies. I mean, these people actually have professions in many cases, and many of them will be attending this workshop September 10th at Santa Rosa Junior College. And for more information on Pamela, you can go to her website, illuminationhospitality.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you.
Marty, cheers.
All right. Thank you, Henry.